And we are live. I have the distinct pleasure today of sitting here with two sisters. And I have things to say about two sisters working together because I find it so extraordinary that you both do this together. Jeni Kurtika, Randi Larson, these two ladies together have created a gorgeous portal of energy and teachings and mentorship and offerings within the originators. And they together will be one of our 11/11 full day of presenters, and it's at noon Eastern that you're presenting, correct?
I believe that is correct.
I believe it is. I believe it is. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I'm thrilled to have you. I'm thrilled to have you. And before we drop into the conversation about how you do your work in the world, I first want to talk about the fact that you're two sisters doing this together. And on a personal note, I just said before we went live, I have a sister who's 2 years older and I have a sister who's 10 years younger. As I have watched you two together over the last few years, I believe I've been in your world right after the Originators was birthed. It has delighted me that you are creating together, not only as two women, which my heart is so happy about, but as two sisters who are deepening into really creating a powerful and beautiful body of work. So my first question is, how did that happen? How is it? And like, what are the little nuances about so beautifully creating with your sister? Like that just to me is magic.
Yeah.
You want to start, Rand?
Sure. Well, I mean, for many years, we were both so deeply interested in energy and consciousness and relationship and how the world worked and how our lives worked. And we would spend hours and hours and hours like trying things out, learning new things, talking on the phone. We both did different things in our lives. And for years and years, we would hash this stuff out on the phone and say, oh, why can't this just be our life? Like, why can't we just like do this for a living? Why can't we just get like paid to like talk about stuff we care about, like in our pajamas together and like work with women doing this sort of stuff? And the way that it just kind of all evolved and unfolded has been such like a deep blessing for our individual relationships with God, with ourselves, with each other, in our marriages as mothers. And it's spilled over into our family as like the daughters of our parents and our other sisters. I mean, this what we have dedicated ourselves to growth and intimacy and truth and trust and being led to create. And from our original design, we have, it's just kind of spilled into everything. It's also beautifully like, it can be so complex and intimate to have to be presented with ourselves in each other and just the dynamics of our age or our roles or who feels like they need to protect who or who. So we've had to navigate a lot of things inside of this, and there's nothing else in the world that I'd rather be doing.
I always joke and say it's like very advanced work because there is no break from the evolution and the confrontations of your protective systems, your relationships, your business habits, your wanting to hide, your all of the things that come along that most people can put into categories and not have to maybe confront some of those things while they're at work. They don't have to confront some of those things while they're with their family. They don't have to confront everything all at one time. And like Randy said, I would not want it any other way either. And because we're sisters, we offer a very unique point of view to our clients. We are very much in sync with a multitude of things, and we are extremely different from each other. We've gone through the same experiences, starting from really birth, obviously, till now. But just like everybody else, you go through life experiences. We had traumatic experience very young in age that bonded us, that also brought us through our own transformations. Like, I feel so deeply lucky to have the person that I have been through my whole life with, to create with, and to heal with, and to continue with in this journey. So when a client comes to us, because we've gone through a lot of the same things, but we have different points of views and we have different experiences with them. So for an example, when you go through something with anybody, you ask two people the story, you remember it differently, right? Like, I remember certain things about it. She remembers. I mean, you, I'm sure, can relate to that experience. You and your husband go through something, you probably have a different version of what happened.
We do, and to exactly what you're talking about. I'm one of 5, and years ago we would gather as adults, and we were all together, and it became very clear as everybody spoke that what was trauma for one was not for another, and the way one experienced this set of parents, somebody else was like, I never felt that. Like, that's not any part of what's in my system. So it was fascinating back then, much to exactly what you're talking about, how unique each of us were, and yet we're within this same nucleus and constellation of family. So there are those pieces that are intimately and forever woven together.
Right.
I really love how this informs your work. Like, as a woman who has watched you both individually, more Randy, I've been in your world longer than Jen, but watching you together create this, I have so much respect and admiration, because I do understand it's not just let's build a business. And even though you both say you felt, why can't we do this every day? And now you do it, it's very pleasurable, and it is deepening each of you into your edges and your expansion and the dialogue that is a radical truth of who you are. So yes, I do understand. And I love watching what you're doing together.
Yeah. So that has been one of the most beautiful things for us, is to work together and to really be able to expand all sides of point of views, and have, it almost feels like a million eyes on our clients, because one of us will have this deep connection to exactly what it is that is presented to say, and the other one has an addition to it, and another deepening of it, and then another deepening. And the way that we work simultaneously, like separate and together at the same time, where nothing is off limits. And so for us, it's very, very unique to the clients that work with us get 2 coaches. They get the double of the support. They get vantage points and points of view that not only one person can usually do on their own. So it is a very unique situation, and we have committed ourselves to nothing is off limits between each other, and the way that we push each other and confront each other is its own growth between us. That's what I feel like most of the time that happens, is when we are working with somebody, it's like brings its own life, where the 3 of us are evolving as a unit.
Yeah.
I love how that brings in that trinity of energy, where you've gone from the 2 to now you've got the 3. Something's going on in your.
Oh yeah, we're in the middle, like behind the scenes of like everything right now is the Trinity. So it is definitely just very present in the, I don't even know if I have language for it right at this moment, but I believe, and I feel like you will agree with this, Jacqueline, that what we can do together will take us further and deeper than anything we can do on our own.
Absolutely.
And as women who are all bringing forth like our way into the world to guide, to support, to connect, to evolve, I think for a long time in this world of personal development or self-development, I believe that there was this place who like the what somebody knew more and was going to bring somebody somewhere else. And in collaboration, in what we can do together, or in the power of three, or the Trinity, or that even when two are gathered, a third thing is created.
Yes.
We are bringing each other in relationship and collaboration and communion. So we are, yes, we are committed and dedicated and we are to walking the walk and living out what it is that we teach. And we are transparent in the fact that we don't have it all figured out. We are learning with our clients. We are learning from our clients. They are bringing things to us that are growing us, and we're growing them. And it's a reciprocal relationship in the collaboration that I feel is really one of the new ways of growth and evolution and learning and expressing the fullness of our individual unique essence in this lifetime here.
I absolutely 100% agree with you. And what you spoke is in the foundational creation of tapestry, because I invited women like you, Jen and Randy, into that space because it is so true. We are much more. We create, if you think about the tapestry being woven, the finish of it is exquisite with all the colors and all the textures and the energies and what's being brought forth. If you're presenting that to a woman, it's very different than if you're presenting her a pink blanket, a pink crocheted blanket, right? It feels different energetically. Nothing wrong with the pink blanket. It's beautiful. But this gorgeous tapestry of many women with many hearts, with different signatures of divine intelligence, with different relationships to herself and her man and her family and her God and the world that's around her. This is the richness. This is what will usher us into something different. And I agree with you, Randy, that it is a new and different way of collaborating amongst women that we have not been taught, nor have we had a lot of experience and opportunity to practice. Additionally, it's bringing in new ways of being a woman in leadership. That doesn't mean I have all the answers. I'm the powerful one. Come into my container and I promise you this.
Mm-hmm.
I really hear both of you more saying, we are living life. We are wide open to that experience with God, with our man, with our creativity, with our children, with every single thread that enters into our own personal tapestry. I hear both of you saying how intimate you choose, not just you are, but you choose to be with that individually and together. And to me, watching you, coming back to that Trinity, there's Jenny and there's Randy and there's the originators. And it so potently invites women in. I've had the privilege of being in your 365, on your knees 365. I never get the title right, but the tone of it is so deeply intimate and inviting is the word that I want. Inviting, not just, come on, we're doing a thing, please come in, but inviting, we want your heart here. We welcome your soul. We welcome your grief. We welcome your heartache and your challenges. We welcome your power. We welcome your voice. And I would love for you to then speak for those who aren't familiar with the originators. And when you say our original design, signature essence, what does that mean? What does that mean? And how did you come to that in the creation of this brilliant artistry and body of work that you together are birthing into the world? Because you are, I watch you, I know you're birthing something brand new. I became aware of you when George and I were figuring out how to redefine and recreate our marriage. And Michelle Chatham said, go listen to this last live from the originators. And I don't even remember what she said was in it, but there was something in it. And that's how I was introduced to your world. And it was profound. Nobody was saying the things you were saying back then. And certainly if they were, the tone was very, very different. So would you speak about the originators and your original design and your signature essence for those who don't know?
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay. Well, I mean, this was an evolution of even the language. We spent many years, I mean, our whole life basically, learning how to deepen in and experience our life. There was a multitude of reasons why things were not adding up. And it was clear that the body sensations and the feelings that were happening in each of us were there for a reason. And we decided to dedicate time and space to investigate what any of it was even actually meaning. And how we did that is we decided to stop the regular scheduled program of being owned by the circumstances, being owned by the body sensations, being owned by the mind chatter, and went all in that there was a possibility that there might be a different way. And we created an opening inside each of us individually. And Randi does talk about how we would spend hours and hours and hours for years talking. And the most unique thing happened when this work came in. We separated from each other, not in a way of purposefulness. We didn't even understand we were doing it. We both became quiet and we both went inward, not in a verbal agreement beforehand. It was a natural movement that happened to both of us. And it felt almost like this hibernation or this incubation. And it was very apparent that there was a new breath coming in and that each one of us were experiencing it. And we were trusting each other to have the time and space without even understanding that we were both doing it. And after time, we ended up coming back together with these new resources, this newfound experience, the downloads and the information that had come in, the embodiment that was the new truth, that was all the questions that we've been asking our whole life. We started finding the answers. We started trusting in the energetics. We started trusting in our own ability as a creator, and went all in to the fact that, you know what, maybe this whisper, this voice of God inside of us knows more and understands what's right for me beyond my protective programs, beyond my learned behavior, beyond the way that feels comfortable to show up. And if I quiet and listen, and when I say quiet and listen, some of this stuff does not feel quiet and it does not feel comfortable. Most of it did not. But if I trust, if I play a game of trust with myself and decide to follow it, that there's a possibility things are going to change. The way that things were playing out, it was like starting to recognize those spots, make a conscious creative choice, and our worlds were changing dramatically fast. And things were coming in at rapid space. And the understanding that we are each put here individually uniquely dropped in for our own life experience, and that there's an original design behind it, that it is not by chance, and that most of us have strayed really far from the essence of what is correct for us. And it makes sense that the feelings are there. It makes sense that the red alert system's going on. It makes sense that the mind can't quiet. It makes sense that it doesn't feel like you in this life, and that you can't grab on and connect and deepen into it. Like everything in you wants to escape from it because it's not actually meant for you.
Mm. The trust that you talk about, Jen, is imperative.
Mm.
In my experience of what you're speaking about,
Yeah.
things weren't going to move until, like, two key pieces I heard you say, and there are many keys within what you spoke. One being until we choose to trust ourselves,
Yeah.
and two being in that very sentence, until we choose, until we align the will, the choice with what we know. It might be no here at first, but there's also a no in the heart, and that's where the trust comes.
Yeah.
Is in that heart space, which I find the heart space very much alive and pulsing within the originator's portal. That really, when you talk about origination, for me, I feel a very alive heartbeat. That is the pulse of life. That is the signature essence you're talking about. And connecting that with tapestry, when I talk about women's signature artistry, in some ways, it's the very same thing. It's the creative essence of her being, of her own unique design. And when we tap into that, when we open and activate and choose it, the shit does hit the fan in a pretty fast, quick way.
Yeah.
And it will touch everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would go, Randi. Yeah, no, please. I want to hear your voice.
I cannot tell you how deeply touching it is to hear your experience of like our world. It means like so much that you feel what it is that we feel, and that you experience that intimacy or that heart or that just essence of truth in what we are doing. So I really just want to acknowledge how deeply that matters to us. To expand a little bit on what Jen said, everything we found out was like experience it first and understand it second. Experience it first and understand it second. And truly, in these moments of being like, I don't understand why in the ways of the world I have everything that I'm supposed to want. I still feel like shit.
Yeah. I get
Why?
that.
Yeah. Why is it that I'm anywhere but here? And every time I get over there, I'm like, I wish I was still over there. It's like anywhere but here. And
Yeah.
in the moments of deciding to make a way that maybe we didn't quite have all the answers, or maybe we didn't know, or maybe there was a part of us that could lead us into something we hadn't thought of yet, because I felt like I had tried all the things and done all the things and have been able to even create and manifest a multitude of outcomes. But none of them really did that much to change the heart.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you even just returning to the heart, because for us, going rogue on what was familiar and safe and practiced and making an opening into something unknown, or to be led to something outside of what we thought we knew, really did create a change of heart in what actually mattered to us. And in that, our life became a lot more simplified, because what we thought mattered didn't actually matter at all.
And that change of heart, would you say, Randy, was not here? There were choices made here, choices to trust, choices to allow the expansion, choices to not pop out and be over here instead, but to stay. Was it your experience that those were the choices? The choice is never, okay, now I'm going to be in my heart. And it's as simple as that.
No. It was like the choice to like lean into your husband when everything in you wanted to be like, no, don't touch me, like revealed the heart.
Yeah.
Every
Yes.
time you wanted to say the thing that you say that you know creates more separation. And I mean, Jenny and I talk about like these huge moves that we made in our life that were in silence on the couch that nobody knew were even happening. And every decision towards intimacy and honesty and truth really cracked open all the barriers to love, and the heart like revealed itself.
Yes.
One of the things that was so clear to both of us is like we've gone backwards and tried to figure out a multitude of reasons why I'm showing up in this way. And it was like, that has not, that I'm not, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to put that out there. But what do you do with that?
Yeah.
What
Once you know.
To know, okay, so now you know, but you already knew because your body was doing something, your reactions were doing something, your mind was doing something. So you were already told that there's been a multitude of reasons in the past that in this moment you're presenting yourself in a very specific way, and that's not by mistake. And both of us were just tired of like doing in what was, and none of it mattered anymore. It was like, what if I just dropped all that and let myself and everybody else that I actually love off the hook for the mountain of mistakes and evidence that I can freaking file through the whole file cabinet worth of evidence that it's a bad idea. But like, I actually want an intimate relationship. I actually want to be deeply connected. I actually want to be loved. I actually want to experience this moment. I want deep connection. I have a million reasons to not do it, but that's not leading me to want to do it. Like, that's not leading me to get it. So who is it up to? Do I sit and wait silently on the couch for the next million years, hoping that my husband understands me enough to apologize for the million things that he's actually already probably apologized for to me? Or do I just decide that it exists, and that as much as the turmoil and pain exists, so does the love and connection? So which one am I choosing, and how am I showing up, and who am I blaming for the reason why it's not present in this moment? And when that was a hard pill to swallow of being, wow, I have a huge part in the creation, and actually as a woman, I have most of the part in the creation. I am the one who is holding pretty much everything over the head and bringing it into this moment, hoping that somebody will just fucking save me from it.
And then we really don't want that anyway. We really don't want somebody to save us from it.
No.
One of the moments when George and I were coming back together, in fact, Isis Lior, who is also part of Tapestry, was working with us at the time. And we were baby new to doing anything together with a mentor, no therapist, nothing. That was just never part of our world. And I remember whatever was going on in me, it was a big amount of emotion. And George's response was, he married me when he was 30. I was 20. So he was accustomed to, I'll take care of it. He was a man of the world. I came out of Christian school and religion in a class of one. I knew nothing. And so he wrapped himself around me. Well, now we're 27 years later, and I'm not that same young woman. And what came out of the exercise was me actually saying, you can't take my emotion. You can't save me. And it wasn't a you can't, it was, this belongs to me. I need to feel it. And it's not either your job it's also in that moment, I said, it's also not okay for you to come in and take it. And I love your reason for wanting to do that. How, as you were speaking, Jen, it's all coming through as though it's a choice and you do something different and it's very hard. And what I can feel on the back end of that is it's a radical
Mm.
edge of consciousness choice, because it might sound simple what you're speaking of, what I'm speaking of, to say, I'm going to put on my big girl panties and own what is truly me in all the ways. But when you're sitting in that moment, to Randi, your example, and the love is there, but you have stuff in yourself and you can either scoot away from it or you can put the stuff down and lean into love. That is a searing moment within the gut and belly of a woman. And it will change you.
It will. I remember sitting on the couch when everything wanted to list the 5 million reasons to myself and out loud. And knowing I didn't
Out loud.
Yeah. I knew where that was going to lead, and that's not really what I wanted, even though everything in my body wanted it, wanted to have that relief and that unloading. Like, I wanted it, but like the core of who I am and my original design did not want that. And I could see it. I was sitting on the couch. I literally felt like if I said, I love you, and I moved into his arm in that moment, instead of doing the thing we normally did, it felt as if the earth was going to crack open and that I was going to be the most alien person that had ever been in this relationship. And it was going to be like this giant record scratch. I had prepared myself that it was like the apocalypse. It really felt like that in my body. It really
I
did.
heard it. I heard, like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die if I do this. There's no way I could lean into this and we live and go on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did it. And literally nothing happened. Nothing. And for me, I was like, nothing happened. He didn't say like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. And now we're so connected and all of these things. Like, nothing happened. But there was the absence of what I knew would happen if I continued on the same way that my protective system in my body needed to go there. It needed to unload. It needed to list the things. It needed to say the things. It needed to fight. But when I didn't fight, nothing happened. And the silence of nothing was life-changing and everything. I realized how much I dictate what is actually what we're participating in. I mean, obviously my husband has his own choices in a multitude of things, and that can get really deep. But the fact that nothing happened when it always happened before was like this big, huge ray of light, of hope, of, oh my gosh, literally when you showed up differently, it is different. And it doesn't have to be this huge, amazing, here was the amazing outcome. Nothing was the most magical outcome I could possibly experience in the midst of what I knew was most likely going to happen for the rest of the night.
It's so contrary to what the system believes. And the two words that continue as you're speaking again, that just that word of, this is radical work. Make no mistake, this is radical, deeply impacting work, because you say nothing happened, but everything happened. Everything happened. Everything changed. We didn't see the fairy godmother with her bippity boppity boo, and yet everything rearranged from the inside out. As I witness the way you both, as the originators, move in the world, from outside your portal, from inside your portal, the small glimpse I've seen, those are the two words I would use. And I haven't said the other, radical. And your work is incredibly mystical. because it is not just on the level of this human plane. First of all, it's that sacred heart space that is so much about love, but it's also about impacting change, not just within, but it then becomes, as you've said, and as I've witnessed, especially being in Randi's world and watching the evolution of your life alongside my own and your family, it's a mystical consciousness that is invisible. We can't call in a mystical experience. We can't make it happen. We have no control over it. It's between the heart and her God. And I find that essence so deeply imbued within your work and space. And I definitely want to speak to that. And if you have any to add, beautiful. And if not, that's okay. But for those listening who are drawn to you in your work, this is a part of it from my witnessing and experience. I'm going to jump over now because I know we went super deep very fast.
That's how we do it.
I'm going to jump over as we now start to just sort of bring this beautiful space and time to a close. Two pieces that are a little, I think, lighter. We'll see. We'll see. We never know. And fun. And one is Randi, a little nugget that you disclosed in the tapestry weaving is that you have a special relationship with spider. Not surprisingly, so do I. And I would love to hear through your voice and your experience what that is and how it moves in your world.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how many years it has been, but the spider she has come to me. And I mean, I think that between Jen and I together, probably, okay. I do actually remember. I did forget. I forgot about the dream. I forgot about all of this stuff. This is the thing also about being deeply mystical is like the world opens and reorients on its axis and God just pours in and reveals like miraculousness to you. And 3 days later, it's as though none of that ever even existed.
Yeah, because the world keeps spinning as it does. Yes.
I'm like, how, like you're in these moments and you're like, I will never forget. This was the most divinely orchestrated. There is no way you could ever make this happen. And then a week goes by and it's like, what was it? What was that again? But no, there was a huge phase in our lives, right? Jenny can talk about the teepee and the weaver, but where the spider and the dream catchers began to like weave into my world, Jenny's world, several friends of ours. And that led to a conversation, to a time in our lives that was deeply, deeply awestruck by the power of the tapestry of divinity and how intricately woven every moment is. And so I'm not going to go into that part of the story, but I will say that every time the spider comes to visit me, whether that's in my bathroom, in my yard, on my shirt, in my car, the spider is always bringing me the message of like, it's time to weave the web deeper and further, or to re-look at this point in your little threads that you have woven already, and fine tune this spot here, or reweave this spot here. So it's definitely, I feel like the spider comes to me in a multitude of ways. And when people talk about spiders and how freaked out they are by spiders, I'm always like, I love spiders.
Same. Yes.
I love the spiders.
Yes.
So,
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. My language for how spider shows up now would be different, and I love that perspective on how you bring it. I love that. I'm not gonna go into any of my stories because we're here for you, ladies. Jenny, how about the teepee ceremony? You wanna talk about that?
Well, this kind of led off the story that Randy was talking about. There was a moment, I'll try to tell it very fastly, where Randy and myself and some girlfriends of ours, we simultaneously received dream catchers in
Mhm.
our awareness, and like physical dream catchers without purchasing any of them and without even knowing that we were each doing it. So I
Wow.
received one in my mailbox. Randy was visiting me. We live in different towns and at the time different states. She was visiting me. When she got home, she had a small dream catcher on her nightstand that nobody, I mean, these were like very intimate receivings, not like, oh, here's a sign on a billboard, like
No.
received dream catchers. And our really close friend during this time also received one, and she had a dream. And in her dream, she dreamt this spider came to her, and she could not pronounce the name in the dream, but it sounded like Ink Tom Me in the dream, Ink Tom Me. And we had shared the story, so she had this dream of the spider coming, and he told her all of this, all of these amazing, like beautiful words in the dream. Ink Tom Me. Ink Tom Me is what it was. And another girlfriend was like, well, you guys received these dream catchers. Like, I want in on this mystical, like amazing experiences. Like, well, how did you get that? What? And so she ended up calling this man in South Dakota who was on, or who lived on the Standing Rock Reservation, and asked if he would make her a dream catcher. That was something that he did. He asked why. She shared the news of what had happened with the receiving of them and about this spider that had appeared in the dream. And he said that was Inktomé. And when Inktomé arrives in the dream, you must have a sweat ceremony for him. So he invited um, us down to Standing Rock and put a sweat lodge on for us with the messenger of the Inktomé asking for it. And we had a sweat ceremony there. This is a little bit of a different story of the weaver, except where it does connect to it. One of the things I want to talk about it in there was during the sweat ceremony, it was 4 Native men and then 4 white ethnic women that were together in the lodge. And we spent over 4.5 hours in there and got to witness the crying out of men and the way that the pain and their relationships with their masculinity and what it was to be a man. And part of the prophecy that they spoke about was inviting us into the ceremony with them, felt that it was very divinely weaved in with the prophecy of the coming together of the men and women and the reconnection with spirit in a grounding way here walking through life. And so that was incredibly beautiful. And that led us to one of our friends is a beautiful artist, and she had actually painted a teepee, a full teepee. And we went to Big Sky and we had a ceremony. This woman came from South America and did this ancient ceremony where we put all these things in the ground and we said our prayers into these leaves and did this altar inside the teepee. And the ceremony was lasting hours. And in the middle of it, this woman just stopped abruptly. And there was probably 40 of us around in the ceremony. And she just stopped speaking and she looked right at me and just said, "You are a weaver." And she then continued on. And I mean, she didn't say or call anybody else out in it. And it just shocked my system. And I felt like I knew exactly what she was saying. And all of these experiences that we could talk about for millions of hours felt like it really made sense to me. And even you with what you're doing and tapestry, and as soon as you hear the name, it's like, if you're a weaver, if you are part of the thread that is here on purpose, you recognize that. You recognize that by feeling, you recognize that by the call, you recognize it by when other people are speaking. And there are, like exactly what you said, there are those of us who have come here to very divinely timed to do huge work here in the realms of what can feel like mundane life. There's giant spiritual, mystical work happening in these moments that may not feel as if they're connected to huge mystical work, but they are.
Especially so now, especially so as we're crossing this timeline from one age or epoch into another, especially now, the way that mystics are having, I'm going to say having impact, but then I could feel it's not even that, are intimately connecting, which is what is having the impact, is by weaving the relationship between our divinity and our humanity, between the mystical and the mundane. And if we're trying to stay up here where the feeling is always good because it's a mystical experience, it's not embodied. And if we're down here and fearful of that sensation of not being in control and cracking open, it's not happening. It's absolutely essential that the two go together. And that is precisely what I see you both living and doing through the originators. And I have no idea at all what this means, but Jenny, I have watched your countenance when you were just speaking looks very different than when we got on this call. Something shifted, something happened. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I love you both. I thank you both. Before we close, number one, is there anything else you would like to share? Number two, how do women connect with you if they're drawn into your vortex? What would you advise them next?
Well, I would just first like to share just our gratitude for being invited into Tapestry and our excitement for how this is going to continue to unfold. We were just on a presenters call right before this, which was so beautiful. And to speak also to the, it's no longer enough to not have these two worlds married together. And what I loved about what's coming forward in Tapestry are so a multitude of ways to bring that into form in each woman's individual life experience. And so I am deeply looking forward to being able to even experience these other presenters and their way and their artistry and their signature. So I really want to thank you for inviting us into this beautiful offering that you are stewarding and creating. And I am deeply honored. We are deeply honored. And I am so humbled to have been received in this way.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a gift to me, truly, to sit this morning on that call and see across my screen woman after woman after woman after woman, and to know that we are all incredible as we stand within ourselves and we become so much more, which feels almost impossible, and yet we do when we stand within ourselves and beside and with another. And so I am deeply honored to have both of you and to create a channel through which your brilliance is spotlighted into the world.
And then
yes,
if somebody wants to reach us, they can reach us, I suppose, through social media. The handle is at theoriginators.us. And we also have a website that is theoriginators.us as well. So I think it's .us, but we say us because there's two of us. So
I love it. I love it. I think it's perfect. I thought that when you said it. How beautiful. How beautiful.
Yes.
Yes. And if anybody wants to reach out individually too, our names are on here. That's what our social media, like our personal handles are too. And we would love to connect that way as well.
Mm, mm. And we didn't speak about it, but Randi and Jen will be presenting Drenched in Gratitude.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about it. I've been in the space of both of you sharing your energy and expression of gratitude. And it was a mystical moment for me. So I love that you will bring this transmission into the world on 11/11.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to say one last thing. We do have a very unique, deep perspective on what gratitude is, and it is not what you are being sold that it is. And I'm really looking forward to introducing a real grounded, sustainable, truthful experience of gratitude that actually supports and holds you and carries you through your life purpose.
Which
Thank you for saying that.
I love that you use the word radical, because we are the way we experience the truth of gratitude in the radical responsibility of stewardship goes so much further than, you know, the shallowness of, if I'm just grateful enough, then maybe I will get some more crap.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work. I love that you said that, Jenny. Your approach is radically different, and I love it. I love you both.
I love
Thank you.
I love you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.